we've got the beautiful waterfront here. Tell me a little bit about the expansion.
This was an area of Vancouver that people hadn't had access to for over 100 years. The railroad berm actually cut off this industrial area from the rest of the city, and people couldn't get down to the river. So 7-8 years ago, when we cut the ribbon for these 35 acres, this allowed the entire community to come and actually be close to the water. Over the years, we thought this would take 15-20 years to develop all of the restaurants and hotels and the senior living, etc. But in reality, it happened just like that. So we were extremely excited when we cut the ribbon on these 7 acres of park. And that was the first project done. And then as we're moving back toward that railroad berm, you'll see those smaller projects, the parking lot structure and such, office, all of those types of things. But this has been a huge asset for us. This really gave Vancouver a new life. This was an area that the city had never had access to. So this was a new target magnet. This is what is called a cable-stayed pier. It's 90 feet out over the Columbia River. It doesn't have a structure underneath it. All these cables are engineered to hold it up off the water. So this became one of those places, a placemaker where people take their families, they propose, they show their babies, prom night, all of those opportunities where people are saying, let's go to Vancouver. And this whole area looks very different at nighttime too. When you're flying in, this V-shaped pier with all of the beautiful lights has a very calming effect that says you're home. So this is our exciting part of the city.
The waterfront at $1.5 billion. When do we expect to see it finally finished?
Well, when you talk about the waterfront, there are several sections to the waterfront. The Graymore development, which are a lot of local investors, own this whole portion. The Port of Vancouver owns Terminal 1, which you're seeing behind me. They pulled up all the piers of that old terminal and are rebuilding it now. It'll take them a couple years to finish the in-water work and all of the new grocery store, the restaurants, and that market. That's a 40,000 square foot market, so that'll take a little bit of while. When you are heading down the waterfront, closer to the railroad bridge, you have a couple permitted buildings that are waiting for better market conditions. On the upstream, on the east side of the I-5 bridge, that's a whole nother section, 200 plus acres. Other developers are taking a look at it. It'll take 5, 10, 15 years.
When we look at the economic impact out here and the people coming to the waterfront to spend time with their families, people driving from Portland, how is that impacting Vancouver?
Well, before people drove through Vancouver, they didn't get off and stop, and now they are. And now they're looking at Vancouver with a different set of eyes. As you look this section of the waterfront, 3,300 condos, senior living, apartments and such. On the other side, we still call it the waterfront gateway area. That is where we're in the middle of construction for an affordable housing complex right now, south of City Hall and around City Hall. This whole area is a new piece of Vancouver. So you're right, many people would say, I remember it as Vantucky. So once they get here and walk our Renaissance Trail or sit down and look out over the water, listen to the airplanes, they're seeing Vancouver with a different set of eyes and they're ready to invest.
With tariffs starting on Thursday, August 7th, later this week, what kind of impact will that have on people here in Vancouver?
More than anything else, those tariffs will impact the Port of Vancouver, which is further on down the river. The Port of Vancouver has a lot of exporting of wheat and soybeans and such, importing of the Subarus. So it won't be the city of Vancouver as it will impact the entire nation. Anyone that wants to buy a Subaru will be paying a tariff. All of those countries that we export soybeans and wheat to will be involved in that tariff. For the city of Vancouver and development within the city in Southwest Washington, it will be, the tariffs will impact the lumber from Canada. Those costs, whether it's your appliance, roofing materials, 2x4s, those are the costs that are going up that a lot of developers are trying to figure out how to make that profit and keep housing affordable, but also keeping their retail, their office space, everything affordable and move in. But directly, people won't notice the tariffs unless they're going to Home Depot or buying construction materials and such.
Right behind you, we have a great view of the I-5 bridge. I know we're supposed to be getting a new bridge. What's going on with that? Are there delays, and how is that playing into the current administration?
The I-5 bridge project is moving forward. We're waiting for what they call the record of decision. All of those materials are back in Washington, D.C. right now, being reviewed by this administration. Progress was being made on the bridge with the previous administration. There are some delays with this current administration. Federal Transit, Federal Highways, Federal Transportation are looking at decisions that were made some time ago, but they have new sets of eyes looking at all of this, a new language within the grant process. There are 27 different contracts for the bridge. The actual bridge is just one. It's all of the other pieces that we're looking at the opportunity on both Portland and Vancouver's side. For the most part, the locally preferred alternative is moving forward. There are a couple issues that the IBR folks are trying to work through to finish up, but we're still hoping for a record of decision in January 2026, in water work 2027, and we're hoping that ROD makes it through so that the permitting process can get started. If we don't get the construction in water 2027 and we miss that window when the salmon are swimming up and down the street, that means a full year delay until the next window of salmon, so to speak. And at $1 million a day delay, that continues to add $365 million to a project. So we're hoping that January comes with a package and some signatures.
When does that $1 million a day start?
As soon as you start construction, the actual entire project can be 5, 6, 7 years. It depends on all the delays. But if you're looking at 5 years out with inflation and tariffs and work costs, material costs increasing, that's how they estimate that each day of delay is another $1 million. By the time you get through to some of those big pieces, this could be a very expensive bridge if we don't hurry up and get going.
So we haven't started on that $1 million a day delay.
No,
okay, that's
no.
what I thought.
Okay.
Do you support the light rail on the bridge? I know there's been opposition to that on the side of the river.
We would not have a bridge without Oregon and Portland saying, yes, let's build a bridge. That was one of their requirements, and the Vancouver City Council took that vote. And representing the council, the answer to your question is yes. We support bringing light rail over and dropping it in downtown Vancouver.
Last question on the bridge. Is there enough federal funding to make the new bridge a reality?
We will be building a bridge. The 2 grants that have been approved already can get the project started and move the bridge project forward. I wouldn't be surprised in 6, 7, 8 years some of the other pieces of the project are not fulfilled. They may have to be picked up by the states, those on and off ramps and those types of pieces. But right now we can build a bridge if we don't continue to delay the process.
I know that there's been strong debates on both sides about adding a toll to that bridge. What is your stance on it, and do you think it could be beneficial, and what are you hearing from people here?
Well, for the last 27 years that we've discussed this bridge, tolling has always been a part of the funding package. The 2 states, the federal government, and the user fee, sometimes called the toll. So there isn't a major project of this magnitude in the entire United States that doesn't have tolling as part of the funding package. We knew that that would be a possibility going into it way back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and into this project. So once again, the Vancouver City Council made that decision, approved it, and moved on. And I speak for the council. And as we look at it, this bridge is a huge project between two major states. It doesn't belong to the city of Vancouver. We're just one of its strongest advocates, so we know what it takes to build a bridge.
On the topic of homelessness,
Right.
I feel like every time I come out here, a new homeless encampment is popping up. What is the city doing to find every person on the streets here in Vancouver a place to sleep?
That's an interesting question. First of all, we started what they call the HEART team. It's a resource team that of those 10 individuals, 8 of them are always out in the field. We weren't the lead agency on homelessness. That was the county's responsibility. But we realized way back in 2014 that the county needed additional support for the city of Vancouver. So as we started learning about homelessness, who, what, where, when, why, and how, we realized we need to step in, use our funds, and we asked our voters to help support that. So the HEART team is out every day doing those assessments, identifying individuals. Who are you? Where are you from? What was your last address? And interestingly enough, individuals will say, oh, they're all coming from Portland. No. Actually, as several of our sister cities have passed ordinances that said there will be no camping in our city. You need to go to Vancouver to get your services. So we're working with the county on their unincorporated area. We're working with our sister cities in the Washington side. How can we help you help your individuals so that you can support those seniors when the rent becomes too high in Camas, Washougal, Battleground, Ridgefield, the center, and help keep that individual in their home, rapid rehousing, so to speak. Then working with the County Council for the Homeless, and they're doing the housing assessments. But we also have a great agency called the Vancouver Housing Authority. VHA has been here since World War II and provided housing for the workforce housing up at the Kaiser shipyards. Andy Silver and his team do a wonderful job of cobbling together the funds from the Fed, state, regional, county, and the city of Vancouver to build affordable housing and get those apartments, some with support, to accept individuals who are ready to come in and have graduated on that continuum of housing. So if an individual is in one of our safe stays, has overcome their barriers and been a good neighbor, signed the behavior contract, been very successful, if they're ready to go to supportive housing, Andy has a place for them. That opens up an opportunity for someone in a tent. So when our team goes to them and asks, are you ready to come in? Can you follow these rules? And the answer is yes, then they come into our safe stay. If individuals are not going to work with us, you can't just camp here and raise hell in Vancouver. You need to leave. If our HEART team finds you again, you might get a citation to community court. And at community court, you go through an entire process with community service, and you're meeting with the judge, you have your defense attorney, you have a prosecuting attorney on who, what, where, and why are you still here, and why are you not working with us. If you don't show up for a community court, there may be a warrant for your arrest. So we're looking at that whole picture. So when individuals come in, we connect with them as soon as we can. We have lists by name, housing assessments, what supportive services do you need, and help you get on that path to housing.
You know, Mayor Wilson over in Portland says he plans to end unsheltered homelessness in Portland by December. Have you thought about setting a goal like
Bless
that?
his heart. Good for him. We will continue to work with individuals, but there is a photo in the basement of the Clark County Historic Museum. It's of this bridge on the ribbon cutting. Underneath the bridge are homeless individuals, 1907. We have had individuals who have been homeless for thousands of years. Ending homeless is always our goal. We want to get people into some sort of housing or shelter that meets their needs. And identifying those individuals and what their needs are is not an easy task.
Couple random questions since we just have 5 more minutes. Obviously, big vote today for the library levy lift. Do you have a comment on that? I know a lot of people have some strong opinions.
Well, the library hasn't had a levy lid lift for quite some time. They've been out communicating their resources that are available and their needs. It'll depend upon the voters of where they want to go with that, because it's not just in Vancouver. As you probably are aware, it's a regional library that goes way out into other counties and areas. That's very difficult, but they need those voters to approve it also. The folks in Vancouver understand that. I'm not sure about the voters in the other counties.
What are the biggest challenges facing Vancouver right now?
Last night we approved our public safety ballot measure. We need additional officers, and that is what we'll be asking the voters for. Those 13 additional officers, police officers and law enforcement, to help with our very much growing city. We're over 200,000 people. And when you look at a ratio of how many officers per population, we're very, very low. We're trying to bring that up, and we hope the voters understand that and work with us.
Well, my last question that brings me to, a lot of people feel deterred by the waterfront because there's so many street racers down here, and there's so many people without license plates that the cops can't get, Do you have a comment on that, and is your office aware of that problem down here?
Oh, we are, but it's not just the waterfront. I live up in the Shumway neighborhood. They race their cars also. We have our windows open in the summertime. We're hearing it. The streets are dry. The kids are out with out-of-state, out-of-date license plates. We are very much aware of that. It's one of those priorities, but as we look at it, we need our officers reporting to the higher priorities of violence and domestic violence and those types of things where life is at risk. Having a loud muffler is a huge nuisance, and we're absolutely aware of it. And we have targeted enforcement here. So don't think that you can bring your car down here on a Saturday night, because we have unmarked officers at the end of the street waiting for you.
In terms of the local job market, where are some of the places people are seeking employment, and where are those opportunities for people right now?
So we have our larger employers are the hospitals, the schools, the Port of Vancouver and such, and they're doing just fine, knock on wood. We have a very low vacancy rate for offices. So I just heard Zoom Info is doing very well. Their employees are coming in, and the vacancy at the new building is very low. So we do have companies that are thinking of coming back and building office space in Vancouver. Even though we hear the problem in Portland, that's not a problem here on our side of the river. Different taxation, different economic development programs and such, different states. But right now, we're looking okay. Has it slowed down? Yes, but it has slowed down throughout the nation. We're just a little more diversified than some other areas, and we have different headquarters that are making adjustments, but our city government is doing fine. We figured out how to be a little leaner, how to work on grants and such with the state, but we're okay. So let's hope that continues.
Great. Thank you so much.
You bet.